Hey, have you heard about Anchor? You probably haven't heard about Anchor yet, so let me tell you about it. Anchor is the easiest way to make a podcast. You probably hear other people talk about how they make podcasts. If they say it's easy, they're crazy. All of their methods are really hard and complicated, but Anchor, super simple. First off, it's free. They have creation tools that let you make the podcast right from your phone. You don't even need a computer. This is 2019. Who uses computers anymore? Anchor distributes your podcast on all the other platforms. No need to go do all that complicated searching and hosting and posting. Hosting and posting. They do it for you. You can also make money from your podcast. Well, that's what I'm doing right now, because you're listening to this ad. They've got everything you need to make a podcast in one spot. No need to search around all over the place. No need to go to 20 different sites. Just one. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Bet you thought I was going to sing right here, didn't you? Now let's get into
back to
OCR
talk.
Conversation. Nope. Let's talk about CrossFit.
Speaking of CrossFit, since you mentioned it,
go ahead.
There is a program that I signed up for, and it's a pretty cool program because, I don't belong to a specific CrossFit box because my schedule is just not friendly to that. So there's this online.
And it costs a lot?
Yeah, exactly. So there's this online program that you can sign up for, and it gives you a CrossFit workout every single day, 5 days a week for like $20 a month. It's called Outside the Box, and you download their app, and that's how you get the workouts. But what's really even cooler is that it has different levels of, difficulty. They call it minimalist, generalist, and enthusiast. So you can scale the weights, of course, or they modify movement, or they give you alternative movement, harder movement, the enthusiast tracks. So yeah, it gives you a CrossFit workout every single day, 5 days a week. It's pretty cool. And it's only $20 a month. So I was doing that in the off season, and they have got a Facebook group, and their Facebook group is still relatively small. So it's still a relatively small community.
Cool.
I just thought that was worth mentioning.
One of the hardest things about having a workout that's sent to you is that you have to get yourself to do it.
Yes.
Whereas one of the things that I think was a big draw for people with CrossFit is I go into the box, there's a workout on the wall, I do it, there are people there encouraging me, they expect me to be there, I'm trying to beat my time or somebody else's time. That to me seemed like one of the big draws for CrossFit. So this obviously is a little more difficult because you still have to get yourself to do it. Now, are some of the workouts, do they require a certain amount of gear or equipment?
Pretty much all you need is to do any of the tracks is a jump rope or a box or a place where you can do box jumps, and maybe a kettlebell or dumbbells. And that's pretty much all you need. That's pretty much all you need. And what's really cool is, since I've been doing Miles and Victor's workouts and everything, and I've been doing mostly what they've been programming, I kind of took a step back from it for a little while. And this is how small the community is. I don't know where this lady is from. I'm not sure where she lives because she's one of the founding members. But she sent me an email because she was like, hey, I noticed you weren't on the leaderboards recently, and I just wanted to check in and see how you were doing. Because I saw you haven't been doing our workouts. And I'm like, whoa, this is this is impressive. I was super impressed by that. And we got into this whole conversation, and apparently one of her friends that's also a founding member has listened to our podcast. So
yeah. Very cool.
So yeah, she did an interview that she's going to do as a blog in the near future, kind of how Denny did with me a few days ago. But yeah, so yeah, she checked in with me because if you are still looking for that competitive aspect of it, you do still have leaderboards to where this is the workout that I completed, this is my time that I completed it in, and then here's how I stack up against everybody else. So you still have that competitive aspect to the whole workout CrossFit kind of
That's
vibe.
Awesome.
Yeah, so it was really cool.
What was the name of their site again, or the
Outside the Box?
thing? Outside the Box.
Outside the Box. Yep.
Cool. So just outsidethebox.com or something like that?
I think it's like outsidethebox.fit.
.fit. Come on, this lady's nice enough to
I know. Oh my
talk to you.
gosh. I need
We don't-
to www.outsidethebox.fit.
Ah, you're right. Nice. Yeah, that sounds like a great alternative for people that can't afford an actual box or the time to go to one, I guess.
Yeah. And I mean, it's 5 workouts a week. That's a lot of workouts.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, no, I think the word program is a little silly, but I do that for myself in April, and my workouts are definitely nowhere near as fancy or hitting probably all the required muscles as they should. But I just think, a pull up, a squat, it's pretty simple.
Oh yeah, pull-up bar.
So
Pull-up
to
bar
have somebody
is
that
necessary.
writes some good stuff for you,
Yeah.
oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, no, it's got a lot of really great workouts, hits a lot of muscle groups. And like I feel like kind of like the Discord is, I feel like the community is still small enough to where it's a really small community online feel. They have instructional videos to make sure you're doing the movements correctly. If you still don't know if you're doing it correctly, you can always ask somebody on the Facebook group. It's amazing.
Nice. That's awesome. Okay. Thanks for
So back to CrossFit.
Yeah, thanks for that's cool. CrossFit has come into light in the OCR space because of Hunter McIntyre trying to get into the CrossFit Games. He has successfully done so through a kind of a marketing campaign to say, I should be one of the wild cards that CrossFit has out there. Now, I don't think they've ever actually given anybody a wild card, but this time they have to Hunter, because while he is an OCR person, he has used CrossFit for his, to be better at OCR. And the interesting part about this is not so much, it will be interesting to see what happens when he goes. How will he do? Will he do well at some things and not so well at other things? And that's kind of what led me into putting this in the list of topics to talk about. The real crazy thing, after finding this out, I started looking into it more about what the games have been about. I've always thought the games were a little, all right, they're okay. You got some, you go to CrossFit, you do your workouts, you do like deadlifts and overhead snatches and your kipping pull-ups and all that kind of stuff. And then you do these workouts to qualify to get into the games. And then you go to the games and you do similar things. Now, over the years, I've heard of things like, CrossFit now has an obstacle course. They now have a 3-mile run. They now have, did they do a marathon one year or something? I don't know. A marathon
row. They did
row,
a 7K trail run.
Really? I don't think I heard about that.
Yeah, they did. It was like a few years back, maybe. But yeah, they did a 7K trail run, and I think they had like some cyclocross events where it was just like purely biking.
So yes, that's what got me into like looking into it. What are the games actually like? And then I saw that they had cycling, like straight up, not even like part of a work exercise, like straight up. This is a bicycle street road bicycle race, and that got me. Like the obstacle racing, kind of threw me for a loop before, but that one was like, what is this sport? What are the games? I thought this was CrossFit.
So I think the whole idea behind CrossFit, though, is that you prepare yourself for the unexpected. You're fit enough to tackle the unexpected.
Yes, and that is what I've come to learn, that CrossFit is trying to train you to be an athlete, a good athlete. And, for the longest time, it's like, well, it doesn't. It teaches you how to do overhead snatches.
Yeah.
And what real world application does an overhead snatch have? But the biggest, I guess the biggest factor that they've been missing is the cardio aspect of it, of all of this. To be a real athlete, you need to have cardio to do whatever thing it is you're going to do for an extended period of time.
Yeah.
And that's where, we were a little, I think, biased in obstacle racing because cardio is a huge part of it. So we kind of feel like we're better athletes than CrossFitters, I think is kind of the general consensus. and I'm sure CrossFitters feel the same way.
Right.
CrossFitters lift heavy, and that's where this gets really interesting to me, is that seeing these people cycle, it's like, who put these weightlifting muscle heads on bicycles? It looks like they took people out of the world's strongest competition, world's strongest man, and
told
put
them to go ride a bike.
And made them go ride a bike. We're gonna film it and laugh at all y'all. But so obviously they're doing a legit competition, but it still blows me away at the qualification to get into this competition, where you could be doing God knows what, is not what you have to do to qualify does not necessarily fit you for what you're gonna do. That's the part that I can't get over.
Yeah, because there's this whole other aspect to CrossFit that it's training you for functional movement, like training your body to get stronger for functional movements, like
right, but you never train for those actual movements.
Right. Which I can see the application for it, because like if you're rehabbing from an injury or something and you're trying to get that strength back, I can definitely see that.
Yeah, I do see it, and the more I've looked into it, the more I think about it, the more it makes sense. I don't necessarily like it still. Like, to me, what you're having a competition for is what you should be able to train for. And they can't do that because they don't know what's going to be at the games.
Exactly.
And if the concept is we're going to train you for the unexpected, well, what's after biking? Are you going to have to do like a supermarket sweep style exercise where you got to run through the grocery store and throw things in your buggy?
Ballroom dancing.
So what's next? You're going to go put everybody in go-karts and do a go-kart race? Maybe do a half pipe in a snowboard competition? How about a wingsuit skydiving? Or maybe after the bench press round, we can do a cooking competition. Like
nailed it.
What extent is this going to stop and not be CrossFit anymore? And that's the part that I can't get past. Like, it's like having a Super Bowl, but every year you're probably going to play with a different object, or you're going to get to the Super Bowl and it's going to be a football, but on a basketball court, or right. Like, it's just
well. And I love the whole controversy that's surrounding Hunter getting into the games is like all these CrossFit athletes. Yeah, they work really hard in the open and at sanctional events and everything to get into the games, and they're all saying that like he took somebody else's spot in the games. Well, no, like really, he took a wild card spot. He got invited.
Yeah.
So he's not really, in a sense, taking somebody else's spot. It's kind of at the discretion of the head guy, Greg Glassman, or whatever his name is, to invite whoever the heck he wants. Started this whole CrossFit movement, and he can invite who he wants to the games. So that's what he's going to do. And I really enjoyed listening. I listened to Matt's interview with Armin Hammer.
Yeah.
Weird. It's so strange. About that whole deal, but I could see both sides of it. But my point is that the whole controversy surrounding him getting into the games is that these athletes don't believe he belongs there. But then he comes back saying, well, in my sport, in OCR, we have people show up to the world championships all the time without, racing any race in the series or, having earned a spot there, and they're legit competitors. So if you want an outsider to come in and compete in your sport, you should be like, all right, come on. If you're down for the challenge, I'm down for the challenge to beat you.
And their athletes' mentality with that is, I think, part of my disdain for CrossFit in that it said, like, we're better than everybody else kind of thing.
Right.
And the whole thing with Hunter, and if you haven't heard any of this yet, go listen to Matt B. Davis's interview with Armin Hammer. Go listen to Armin Hammer's interview with Hunter and Brent
Fikowski.
Something or another. Say it again.
Fikowski.
Okay. And go listen to their interview. That was really good. Because this whole thing that is happening is really fascinating. Like, you've got these two sports that are so different, and I mean,
and
similar
yet
in a
still
way,
so
but
similar because we're both really young sports.
And so it really is. I mean, CrossFit's definitely been around a lot longer, but still young. But the way that they're crossing over here is fascinating to see, and to see the reaction of the CrossFit athletes versus the reaction of the OCR athletes. I'm loving watching this unfold. It's kind of awesome.
Yeah. No, I love it. I feel like this was bound to happen because of the crossover that always happens, because you always see CrossFitters that are just curious about obstacle course racing because it's a lot of movements that they do, I feel like, in their workouts, like, you know, a lot of burpees or scaling walls or, you know, box jumps or things like that. But yeah, there has been a lot of crossover for a while now, I feel like, at least in the last couple of years. And it was just, I feel like this was just bound to happen. I feel like Hunter being the ambassador for OCR, whether you like him or not, whether you think he's an appropriate ambassador for the sport or not, like, I think he was probably the one that was supposed to make this happen.
Well, you know, he's small compared to the CrossFit guys, but he always said in OCR that biceps win races. So he always was one of the bigger OCR guys. So it is, if anybody does stand a chance to do well there,
Hashtag bulk pony.
Yeah, it is going to be interesting. And this will be the first time that I ever watched the CrossFit Games when they happen. Or ever, you know, like actually watch like the whole thing. I've never done that before. I'm definitely watching this year. Even more interestingly, we don't know how, you know, you learned this from Matt and Armin's conversation. We don't know how they're going to present it this year, because the everything that's going around with CrossFit is, what's the guy's name? Glassman?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, didn't he like completely renounce
Facebook completely taken CrossFit off of Facebook. Doesn't know what they're going to do with media in general this year. Like, I think he wants it to be like open, but there's nobody like set, like CBS is coming in or so-and-so is coming in. Like, it's not a set thing. So
yeah, because in the past, I think it was covered by ESPN or
probably somebody. Yeah.
Something
so
like that.
Who knows what will be the actual footage or way to watch it this year. We still don't even know that. But whatever it is, I plan on watching it because it's going to be really interesting.
I always wait for the fittest documents to come out.
I haven't watched those either. And
I
mean, they sound...
As much as, like, I'm not into CrossFit. I've been to CrossFit classes. I've dabbled in it, of course, obviously, since we just got finished talking about it. So watching those documentaries on Netflix, as much as I'm not that into CrossFit, like, they're pretty freaking motivational. Like,
I've heard they're good.
They kind of, like, every time I watch one, it kind of makes me want to go out and, like, go work out. Like, do this, let's have a killer workout or something like that.
And anything that makes you feel like that is good. That's cool.
Yeah. Because, I mean, you got the interview with the athletes, and then you get to see a little bit of games and behind the scenes, and I don't know. It's pretty cool.
I have on the list, hang on, let me get it up, my last drink here.
You're already on number 4?
Yeah. I don't feel like it's making me lose my mind yet, but we'll see.
Me? When'd you let me?
All right, so we're gonna take this back a moment. You know, we only record every so often, so sometimes our segments are about things that have already been talked about extensively, and so we're just trying to kind of bring back maybe an aspect that hasn't been talked about, or a thought that hasn't been said yet. At Big Bear, which was 2 weeks ago, I believe, same weekend as the Austin Spartan race, and we did talk about Lindsay Webster taking the spear from a guy, I believe. Since Matt B. Davis has interviewed the guy that got the spear taken away.
Oh, Rich.
Did you catch that one?
Rich Smith?
Rich Ryan.
Ryan.
Did you listen to it?
I'm a bad podcaster. I have an 8-minute commute to work. I can't really, you know?
Yeah. A lot of my listening catch-ups happen on when I have to travel, which I don't have to travel all the time, but when I do, I like catch up on everything.
Yeah, so like me traveling to the race in Dallas this past weekend, that's whenever I binge listened to all the podcasts that I've been wanting to listen to.
All right, before we go into this, let's talk about OCR Podcast for a second.
and how much I don't listen to them.
Well, my question is, which ones do you listen to? Because there are quite a few, and there are some that are like, I think everybody knows about, and then there are a few that are just kind of there.
Yeah. No, totally.
So which ones do you listen to off the top of your head, if you can remember?
Off the top of my head, there's 3 that I can immediately name. Is I listen to Mike and Caitlin's Obstacle Running Adventures because I like the conversational, and the interviews and everything that they have to offer.
Yeah, even if you're not going to listen to them talk about the event that they talk about that episode,
yeah,
I always got to listen to
I love their banter.
Opening and closing.
Yeah, I love it. But also, I listen to Link Endurance. I listen to Mo on Link Endurance. And I listen to Chasing Excellence, which is another CrossFitter, Ben Bergeron. He is Katrin David's daughter's coach, CrossFit coach. And she's won 2 CrossFit games, or at least podiumed in at least 2 CrossFit. But I listen to Mo and to Ben's podcast only because I feel like it gets me in the right mindset to keep reinforcing a positive mindset, if that makes any sense,
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes I feel like life gets way too hectic, and whenever it gets busy like that, you can get really caught up in it and kind of slide back into a lazy way of thinking, like, oh my gosh, like everything's going wrong, like, oh, everything's just pissing me off lately. But then, like, you have to consciously train yourself to reframe your thinking and look at it in a different perspective, looking at it as a learning perspective versus like everything just pissing me off lately, to okay, what lesson can I gain from? So I feel like those kind of podcasts, if I have like a very limited amount of time, are pretty beneficial.
So that particular learning how to handle situations and handle stress in general, which podcast do you say you get that from the most?
Either Link Endurance, Mo's podcast, or Chasing Excellence.
And yeah, Mo does talk about mindset a lot. And I had an interesting situation that was kind of similar. So I had a situation where I went to, this is a really simple thing. I went to a restaurant. I called in an order, went to a restaurant, and went and picked it up. And, when you order from like a sit-down restaurant, if you go in and sit down, you usually leave a tip. Like that's pretty normal. But when you call in and they just make your order and hand it to you, do you leave a tip? I don't. No. Because I didn't get served. I didn't sit down and get waited on. So when I go when I call in an order and I go pick up the order, I don't tip. To me, that makes sense. I don't know. Maybe other people that's token, out of the ordinary.
Would you normally tip at a fast food restaurant though? Like, no.
Exactly. Would you tip at Burger King? No.
Would you?
They placed the order.
Would you tip them
they bagged
through the
it and they gave it
just
to
because
you.
They delivered it to your car? No.
Right.
I mean, so I order through Waiter a lot, and whenever I order and I go pick up, I don't leave them a tip because Waiter's already getting the whatever fee or whatever for me to order through their app.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm going somewhere to go pick it up from the restaurant because I'm like leaving the area and it's on my way home and I go pick it up myself, then that totally negates the whole concept of the app.
Right. And personally, I think tipping a delivery driver is weird and silly too. Even though I do tip pizza delivery people, I still think it's kind of silly. So I know I'm a little biased in that area, but I still think that my thought is relevant to say that if I didn't get waited on, then I shouldn't leave a tip. The problem with these restaurants, I guess, is that the people that are doing the to-go orders are normal waiters or waitresses, and they work off of tips because their salary or their hourly wage is garbage compared to, like that's how they work.
Right.
Which is unfortunate in itself. That's a whole different topic. But in this situation, I went to the restaurant, I picked up the food, and they gave me the check and I signed it. And as I signed it and handed it back to her, I could see her looking, which irritates me in the first place, looking to see if I'm going to leave a tip. And the moment that I handed it back to her, she turned away and walked off. I could tell she was irritated, so I said, thank you, and grabbed the food and walked away. As I was heading out the door, I could hear her telling her coworker, he didn't leave me a tip, or something like that. And it was just like, how dare you get offended? First off, how dare you get offended that I didn't leave you a tip for doing nothing? Second, how dare you make it known to me your job is to give me a good experience at your restaurant? And you did a terrible job at that.
Putting Burger King Arkansas on blast right now.
No, it wasn't Burger King. It was a steak. It was a steakhouse.
Oh, never mind.
It was
steakhouse.
Hang on, let me.
Restaurant.
Now that we're saying it, I'm totally gonna say exactly what place it was. We are gonna put it on blast. Here we go.
Shots fired. Shots fired.
Colton Steakhouse, you suck. No. Colton's Steakhouse food was delicious, and I enjoyed it very much. Now, the reason we were talking about this is, mindset. So that happened, and I was irritated, but whatever. Young girl, who cares? Heather.
Not to be specific or anything.
So I thought about it, and I thought I should call back and talk to her manager and tell her that she did that. And if I did it or not, it's not that big a deal. The thing that I want to say about mindset is that when I thought about doing it, I got a little nervous. Like calling and like being confrontational. A lot of people are very against confrontation, and for good reason. When we have conversation, our body goes into fight or flight, and that feeling is very uncomfortable, and that's why people shy away from it. Now, I have told myself a long time ago, if something makes you nervous, you should do it.
Probably do it.
Because when you get nervous and you follow through and you do it, that is practice on how to handle that nervous situation. And it's so crazy because it's like, I'm nervous, so I want to not do this, but I still don't want to be nervous. And you can't practice not being nervous without going through the situation where you are nervous. So it's almost like maybe somebody steps up to me and says that I'm dumb, or they want to fight me, or I bumped them or something. And if I practice being like, oh, wait, man, yeah, what's up? What's cool? Let's talk this out.
Cool.
If it makes you nervous and you practice it and you do it over and over, you won't get nervous. When you go to give a speech, the first time you do it, if you have that kind of that brain that works that way, you will be nervous. And the more you do it, the more you'll see, hey, I was nervous, but I did it and it was fine. And even though I know I like stumbled over my words, people told me it was good or whatever. So the more you do it, the better you get. And the better you get, the less nervous you get.
Yeah.
So mindset wise and talking about Mo and visualizing and, thinking through things, it is a good practice to get better at it and to face up to those emotions, anxiety and fear and doubt. Face them, practice them through real situations, and you get better at it. So go back to your listing your podcast that you were talking about.
Oh, yeah.
Which podcast do you listen to again? That was I can't help but stop and take a life lesson out of something.
Can you add Enya to that, please? Whenever you go back and edit this.
Enya's gonna sue me, man.
Enya's gonna start wanting a cut, and Enya's gonna start taking our OCR Talk giveaways.
All right, she can have one.
Link Endurance and Chasing Excellence.
You said 3.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mike and Caitlin's Obstacle Running Adventures, of course. Link Endurance and Chasing Excellence. Those are my 3
So
podcasts.
that's the 3 that you always...
Almost.
So is
almost on my 8-minute commute to work. Yes.
Oh, okay, gotcha. So when you're catching up on long drives, which ones do you go to next?
I go to ORM. I go to, let me think of my sequence that I followed this past weekend. It was mostly ORM episodes that I had fallen really behind on.
If she doesn't list you and you're listening, don't be sad.
Yeah, please don't be.
She's got a short commute.
I've got a very short commute, but it was a 6-hour drive to Dallas. So I listened to like a select few of Obstacle Dominator episodes, just the ones that I kind of heard a buzz about and I was curious. So I listened to a couple of those. That's not all I've subscribed to, but...
Yeah, and I would like to mention I guess throw some names out there. There are some.
Oh, Heather Olsen's podcast. Sorry. Overcome and Run, of course.
Nice job calling her by her maiden name.
Yeah.
Well done.
That, and I just apparently happened to do a fascination over.
There are plenty of them out there at this point. I think the ones that I end up listening to the most tend to be because of quality and content. Those two things together, I think, are what top my list. And there are plenty of others out there. Now, my list rounds off. I think I probably end up listening to more than you. My list rounds out with like OCR Report and World's Toughest Podcast and Obstacle Dominator as well. Strength and Speed and I Am a Spartan when I make it to those.
See, World's Toughest Podcast didn't make it to my list only because they haven't come out with a new episode recently. Like I listened to the Javier Escobar episode, and that was the last episode that I listened to, but I already listened to that.
So there are a handful of others that I think kind of go in the back of the list, and I'm not trying to just blast people, but I do want to mention just the reason that quality, like I said, quality and content. I feel like I've tried to find all of the OCR podcasts that are out there, and I found Mud Brothers, OCR Underground, Rise and Grind OCR, the Bro CR Supercast. That's kind of a new one.
What about OCR Audio?
Lactic Acid Radio. Oh, that's New England Spartans. They just changed up their image. And OCR Audio is the other one. And OCR Audio, it's not like their volumes are fine. I think the biggest thing with them, why I have a hard time listening to them, is it's three people talking not over each other, but it's a lot of, like, if you've got two people. I think Link Endurance does it well where it's two people, but then they interview somebody, but Mo will say some stuff for a while, and then Miles will present his slew of questions, and then Mo will kind of close it out. And that's kind of typically the way they do it. So they have a good format. But when you have two people interviewing one person, it gets a little messy. And OCR Audio is three people interviewing another person.
Yeah, that can get a little hairy.
And they're from they're a British or English. I don't know if they're where all they're from, but they are an European English speaking podcasters. So they definitely bring a different perspective, which is nice. But that multi-person talking over each other it's tough.
It makes it hard to follow. I don't know. I haven't listened to it yet. So
I would say hard to listen to. And I'm kind of probably saying more than I normally would, but here's my biggest reason for having a hard time listening to Bro CR Supercat. Jacob Bosecker and his female co-host, which I can't remember her name.
Leah?
Probably says it in the, what's her name? I'm not going to.
That other lady.
Yeah. Leah. Jacob and Leah, their audio volume levels are so different from each other. It starts out the episode like, "Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Jacob Bosecker. I'm really excited to talk to y'all." And then Leah gets on and she starts talking like this, and she's like, how's it going? It's so quiet versus loud, and it's like, oh my God, I can't listen to this. And I don't know what they're using. A lot of people use Skype to do podcasts.
Yes.
And so they can see each other, and that's great, but Skype is terrible about audio lag, and when you talk over each other, it cuts it like dims everybody's audio level, and it sounds like garbage. So I don't know what they're using, but whatever they're using, that's if you guys are listening, I'm sorry to point it out on the podcast. That's what you could work on. Because they interviewed Matt Mossman in their latest episode, and I was really excited to listen to that, but it was hard to listen to because they overtalk each other and you can't tell what anybody's saying. Come on, we got to get some hate mail out of something, right?
You're really pushing for that hate mail now.
No, but yeah, made me think about it. Some of the other ones are just like, they're just talking about training or whatever. And are we interesting?
Probably.
300 people think so. I think.
I'm sure we're super interesting.
What? I think we do that less times than not. So I think that we're interesting even when we don't. We've got.
Just give the people what they want.
They like listening. That's true. That is true. All right, let's bring this back around. I know this is a long episode already. We're
So
at this point, we're just kind of like, we know we
Conquer
got a
the
lot to talk
Gauntlet.
about. And we're just so it's not even a matter of like, I think we're jumping around too much on this episode, because I don't feel like we do. Like, we're diving off into some tangents, but I feel like we're keeping it together. But
Right.
the real thing is that I'm not purposely being like, okay, let's move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
For time. You know,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
having a good time. I don't know
Yeah.
if you got to get your kids in bed or whatever you
No,
do
I
at
don't
10
have my
o'clock at
kids
night,
this
but
week.
well, get your dogs to sleep.
Get my dogs to sleep.
Hey, speaking of which, you're in Colorado now?
No, I'm
Not yet.
24
You are.
days. 23 days.
Oh, okay.
23 days.
Nice.
I'm so nervous. We're just
Are
so
you
fun.
driving a bunch of stuff up?
Not
move?
really. I've tried to sell a whole bunch of stuff, so I don't have to.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah, like I've had my couch for like 4 years, and it was like I bought it really cheap for a reason, because I always intended on replacing it at some point, and now I'm like, I think it would be a really good couch in someone's camp somewhere. Like, I don't even want to sell it. Just somebody come pick it up.
Yeah. Yeah, if you post stuff like on Facebook Marketplace for free,
Yeah.
somebody's gonna get.
Yeah. Which is weird, because I've tried posting my kids' bikes on Facebook Marketplace, because they've both grown out of their bikes, and I've only bought them 3 years ago, but they're both too big for their bikes. And
All right, so we did get off on a pretty big tangent there, because we were talking about Lindsay Webster and
I forgot
and
we were
the
talking
guy
about
who got interviewed
Rich Ryan.
by Matt B. Davis, Rich Ryan, who got the spear taken away from him. So that is a great interview. Like, if you want to hear the other side of the story and Lindsay's perspective all in one episode, really, really cool that Matt did that. Well done to him. Definitely go listen to that. The thing I wanted to point out about it is the big question that came up. A lot of this was, is her race more important than his because she's shooting for a podium? But the truth is that guy is high enough in these rankings for the series that he probably will get some money, because Spartan pays out like 15 or 20 deep at this point.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it is for the series. I know for Tahoe it's pretty deep. I don't know if the series is different. But if that's the case, then yeah, that guy's running for money.
Yeah.
And that 5 seconds might have cost him a place in that race, which is points, So I just thought that was fascinating, that was a big argument or topic of discussion for it. But the truth is that, yeah, that guy's that not podium elite was his race was important.
But when Lindsay Webster asks you for a spear, do you give it to her? Like, put yourself in his place.
Go listen to that episode to find. Did you listen to it?
No, obviously I haven't. We've already established this. With terrible
If you listen to that episode, you do actually get both of their perspectives.
Yeah.
So it's really cool to hear what it is like from his perspective. And Lindsay did say that she was kind of wrong in that situation.
Yeah, I can see that.
I still think by the rules she shouldn't have taken it from him, because that's like getting help from if you walk up to the line and the spear is standing against the fence ready for you, great, good for you. But if somebody hands it to you, that is physically getting assistance from another racer, which is against the rules.
I can see that.
I mean, if another racer hands you a goo, that's against the rules.
Yeah.
So
no, totally.
Spartan has also come out with some very interesting news for their payout for the end of the year $1 million challenge. Mm-hmm. Again, getting my information from Matt B. Davis, because he does such a good job on staying on top of this stuff. Joe DeSena has put out the payout pricing information, being that it's not just going to be who can win all 3 events, basically, and run 100 miles, which is what it was last year.
Yes. That is to win the $1 million.
Yes. It is a very different setup this year that makes it more easily achievable, but really opens up payout bonus pricing to more people. So it's not just simply, hey, did you win Tahoe? All right, good luck to the rest of this. Everybody else can suck it. No, this is take your place from Tahoe and the
in Greece
trifecta world championships in Greece. your placement for those, add those two numbers together, then take the mileage you run in at the Ultra Championships in Sweden and subtract the previous number that you got. So if you run 90 miles and you got second place at Tahoe and third place at the Greece races, then your ultimate score is 85. They have a chart, which I haven't seen yet, but they have a chart with what the payouts are for the whatever point number that you get. So you could have multiple people hitting same numbers, but it's probably like 85 is like $2,000 or $3,000. So nothing insane except for the higher numbers. But if you get 98, which would be first, and 100 miles, then you get $1 million.
Yes.
If somehow, this is interesting, I just thought, this isn't dependent on getting first in both races, which it for the most part, it's pretty... Yeah, and this, for the most part, it is, but it's not bound to it. It doesn't seem. I haven't heard them specify that you have to get first to be able to get the $1 million. But what if somebody got second, and
100
and first, but then got to get 98 points, you would have to get 100, and who knows what the mileage per lap is going to equal out to. So let's just say you got 105 miles. Or 106 or whatever it is. Like you just went crazy and was able to get that many miles. But the person that got first and 100 miles got 98 points. And then you got 100 or 100, let's just say 105 plus 4 or minus 4. So you got 101 points. Do they both get $1 million? Like very improbable, but that would be, how would that turn out, I guess?
How would that shape?
We can get John and Ryan. John will go first in 100, and then Ryan will go second in 105 or 106. And then we'll have $2 million OCR athletes.
Highest payout to date.
Joe DeSena is going to crap his pants and probably have to take out a mortgage or something.
Declare bankruptcy.
But no, I haven't seen the stipulations of any of that, but that is a curious thought.
But of course he's going to make it challenging. He's not going to make it an easy feat.
Yeah, no, that was a great thing that he did say, because a lot of people say, well, of course they're going to make it so hard that it's inachievable. And Joe said, well, of course it's going to be hard. I mean, he used some more colorful words, but of course it's going to be hard. It's $1 million. Like, why wouldn't it be?
Like, and why would I invite you to my race just for you to take my money?
Right. It's cool. If you got a prize, like, hey, this is the first place prize, whatever. It doesn't, if everybody sucks and one person walks across the finish, they still get the prize. But this is a bonus prize. So it is understandable that it is going to be huge. And I guess, I think Tough Mudder has kind of softened people up to that, because they had these big prizes for hitting 100, for hitting 105, and those mileage goals got crushed.
But now also Tough is not offering any this year, so
exactly. So look where that got them.
So
Conquer the Gauntlet.
Conquer the Gauntlet.
Now that we're finally here.
Now that we're finally an hour and 56 minutes into this episode.
Colton Steakhouse, you suck.